Are you looking into buying a mid-size crossover SUV that can carry about 7 to 8 people in luxury and comfort? Well, you got about, carry the 6, drop the 9. You have about a million options to choose from, and the 2018 Toyota Highlander is one of them. Now, I am behind the wheel of the 2018 Toyota Highlander XLE, and what we're going to find out is, does this Highlander really compete in the segment where literally every single car company has a really good contender? So that is what we are going to find out. Is this one of the SUVs that you should buy if you're trying to lug around your kids, your wife, and all your stuff in comfort? So let's start off with the styling of the 2018 Highlander. Now, this Highlander was redesigned a few years ago, but it has gotten a mid-cycle refresh, and you first notice that when you look at the front of the car. Toyota's recently had a thing for grills, and you can tell that in the design of the 2018 Highlander. It has a grill that has the badge in it, and then below that there's an even bigger grill. So, I mean, it's just grillception. There's so much grill going on. And that's generic of most Toyotas nowadays. I feel like that's what they're trying to do to instill more passion and soul into the design. And it definitely gives the Highlander an aggressive stance. The headlights almost slide into the upper section of the grille, and then they're pulled really tightly into the sides of the car that give it a streamlined look from the front end, but it's also really butch looking. The hood is high up off the ground. It definitely has presence from the front end. Now, moving on to the sides, I think the thing that will grab your eyes the most are these 18-inch alloy wheels that have dark inserts. Now, this whole dark insert thing is a trend that we've seen with a lot of cars nowadays, and I think it looks good, but the one thing I love about the wheels on this particular car is that they're multi-spoke, and they're designed in a way that gives them forward direction. It makes the car look like it's moving forward even when it's not moving, which gives it a more poised look. I think that's really cool. Now, moving on to the back of this car, I think the thing that stands out to me the most are the taillights. They're really angular, and I love the design. You have red and white, and that's it. It's clean and simple, but I love the way that it's sculpted into the rear hatch and then pulled around. And correct me if I'm wrong, and this is totally an opinion thing, but I see a little bit of Jag F-Type in them, just the teeniest bit of Jag F-Type. Now, I know that's not an SUV, but even the F-Pace, I kind of see a little bit of that too. Many of you guys are probably going to hate me for saying that, but I do kind of see that in the back of this car. Now, let's talk about the powertrain. Toyota's been using a 3.5-liter V6 in a lot of their cars for a really long time, and this engine always produced 266 to 268-ish horsepower. But Toyota redid the engine in this car. It has port and direct fuel injection, and it puts out 295 horsepower and 263 pound-feet of torque. Now, that's quite a bit more, especially the fact that it hasn't gained any displacement. And it's routed through an 8-speed automatic transmission, which shifts really, really smooth, but has a tendency to hold gears a bit too high, and it won't drop down all that quick when you first hit the gas. Like, I just hit the gas, and it took a little bit of time to get the gear that I wanted, but it's really not that slow, and I think for most drivers, that's going to be something that they're going to appreciate because it ups your fuel economy. This car gets 20 city, 26 highway, and this is with the all-wheel drive. You only gain 1 extra MPG if you opt for front-wheel drive, and while that is a little bit better, 1 MPG difference, oh my God, that's nothing for the added benefit of having a 4-wheel drive system. That's really cool that they were able to get this much efficiency out of a car with, as near makes no difference, 300 horsepower, 4-wheel drive, and it weighs 4,500 pounds and they're still able to get a combined 22 MPG. Pretty impressive from Toyota. Now, this powertrain will get you from 0 to 60 in 7 seconds, which is not that bad at all, but it's not class leading, and I was kind of surprised by that. I figured that this car would go from 0 to 60 a bit quicker given all the fresh, shiny horsepower under the hood with this redone 3.5-liter engine. However, like I said, 4,500 pound SUV and an 8-speed automatic that likes to keep gears too high, that adds up to a car that can't quite beat everyone else in the 0 to 60 sprint. However, I think this drivetrain is going to satisfy pretty much everyone because, as I said earlier, good fuel economy, it's refined, it's quiet, smooth. That's what you want in a car like this. Let's talk about the driving experience of the Highlander. The first thing you'll notice when driving this car is how unbelievably cushy the ride is. It's butter smooth. It's like driving along on a cloud with some whipped cream and I don't know, like tons of really comfy bed springs. It's a Tempur-Pedic cloud with whipped cream on top. That's what this ride is like. It's awesome. You float down the road. You feel nothing. It's unbelievable. This is luxury car quality in terms of the ride. It's really, really nice. And keeping with that theme is the road noise. You hear nothing. There's no wind noise. There's no road noise. It's unbelievable. I'm doing 50 miles an hour and I could whisper like that. It's unbelievably quiet. It's absolutely ridiculous. And driving the car, one thing you will notice is that the steering is light. It's electrically boosted, and I don't even know why I say that in my reviews anymore because literally every system's electrically boosted nowadays, but it transmits exactly no road fuel to the driver. But then again, no one cares. This is an SUV that's designed for family hauling and comfort. No one wants it to really handle like a sports car. And it does a good job at keeping you relatively isolated from what's actually going on the road. And as a driver, I mean, of course, that's not something that you're looking for, but in terms of comfort, serenity, and just overall isolation, it just completes that really, really well. It makes this car as easy to drive as a marshmallow. It's really easy. Just you point it on the road, and the steering, while it is really light and doesn't transmit a lot of feel, not fear, it does actually have a decent amount of weight to it, and it's fairly direct. So while you do turn in and the car does take a while to kind of follow what the steering input suggests that it would do, it does just handle decent considering the fact that it's 4,500 pounds, electrically powered steering and all that. And overall, I think it's going to satisfy most of the class. Now let's talk about interior space, comfort, and features. Now, this dashboard, to start off, looks really nice. You have cool stitching up here. You have all sorts of cool patterns. You have blue inlays that look really cool. And I think my favorite part of this whole dashboard is this tray that's kind of molded into the bottom side of the dashboard that you can use to store stuff. That's a really clever feature, and it means that Toyota knows their market, because people that buy this car, they're going to have kids. They're going to need to shove crap everywhere. Maybe you're a mom that works part-time. You got to shove some notes in there as well as some pacifiers for your 2-year-old. I mean, this car is perfect at that. It has tons of cool storage cubbies. You have huge cubbies in the sides of the doors. And the center console here has such a massive cubby, you could probably stick a newborn child in it. Now, I don't recommend doing that, but you could potentially do it. It is that big. Now, the seats are supremely comfortable. They're not real leather. It's kind of that Softex pleather material, but geez, imagine taking a Lazy Boy and sticking it in a car. That's what this feels like. It's ridiculously comfortable, and it has blue contrast stitching that makes it look even better, matches the dashboard as well. And one thing that I love about these seats is the adjustable thigh support. I don't know why every car doesn't have this. As a tall driver, I'm 6'2". I have really long legs as well. I'm normally not able to find a car that has decent thigh support, but this, oh my God, it is so... Incoming text. Ignore. Yeah, it is so unbelievably comfortable. One thing I don't like is that the lumbar support isn't height adjustable. You can only adjust it for thickness, not for height. And that can be annoying depending on how tall you are. You might not be able to get the perfect level of adjustment there. Now, let's talk about the features in this car. You have an 8-inch display here for navigation, audio, your apps, phone, all that stuff. And it's quick to respond and works well, but I do think the overall screen display could be a little bit nicer looking. The graphics, while they're clean and easy to use, they're not very blingy. They're pretty bland overall. So I mean, not really dinging the system. They could up their game a little bit there. The climate controls, so easy to use. Huge knobs and buttons just make it really easy to figure out what you want to do. And while we're on the subject of climate control, you do have a separate zone for the rear with their own controls back there, which makes it even nicer. Now, you have a 4-inch display between the tachometer and speedometer that shows you pretty much everything you could want. Fuel economy, navigation, music, some of your safety features that this car has are displayed there. Very cool. And the overall logic for the central gauge cluster is very easy to read, and obviously it's just not very hard to use, as you would expect from a Toyota. Now, there are some really freaking cool features. This car does have hill descent control. It has a snow mode. You have auto stop start, which also helps this car achieve its higher EPA fuel economy numbers. And probably my favorite feature on this car, just in terms of like creativity and really thinking outside the box in terms of Toyota, I really like the fact that it has automatic high beam control. So what you do is you push this button and then you put the high beams on, and during the day the car will automatically have your DRLs on, and then when it's nighttime it'll put on your low beams, and it'll turn on your high beams when a car is not in the way. Like if no one's coming your way and there's no cars in front of you, it'll automatically turn on your highs. Car comes into view, cuts them back to low. That basically means that you don't have to worry about any headlight control whatsoever when the system's engaged. That is a really cool feature. Now, let's talk about some of the safety features that you get. You have TSSP, which is Toyota Safety Sense Plus, and that is standard on every single Highlander. Finally, a car company has gotten it into their head that, maybe we should have some of these safety features as standard all across the lineup. You have adaptive cruise control as standard, lane departure warning as standard, forward collision mitigation as standard. It'll slow the car all the way down to 5 miles an hour, and the reason it won't bring it to a complete stop is because if the car comes to a complete stop, you can get whiplash, which obviously doesn't sound very enjoyable. I don't really feel like having whiplash, to be honest with you. So, I mean, that's a really cool feature that Toyota's been able to implement, and it's really impressive that they're able to have that available across the entire lineup. Well done, Toyota there. Now, moving on to the back seat, you do get the captain's chairs in this car. Now, the LLE and all that, they have bench seats, but with the XLE Limited and Limited Platinum, as well as the SE trim, you can get these bench seats, which brings the overall occupancy down from 8 to 7. But overall, I think those seats are probably the choice you're going to want to go with, unless you really do need to cram 8 people into this car. They're supremely comfortable. You can recline them. They're nicely soft text wrapped with that blue contrast stitching, and there's a little center cup puller that pops up, so that way you can store cups and other things like CDs or DVDs or whatever. And while that piece of material is a bit flimsy, it is very useful. And the third row, I wouldn't say you would want to go back there unless you're under the age of 10. It's pretty tight, but it is useful if you do need to transport a lot of people in a pinch. Now, with the third row up, you have 18 cubic feet of cargo space, which probably doesn't sound all that impressive, but when you fold those seats down, you have 43 cubic feet, and when you fold the second row seats down, you have 84 cubic feet, and that's pretty sizable. You can fit a lot of stuff in the trunk of this car. Now, other random features, the sound system sounds great. It's not the premium JBL system you can get, but it does sound very good. You have a moonroof here. You have this car in the XLE, you do have blind spot monitoring, which is awesome, even though the visibility in this car isn't all that bad. But one of my favorite features is the frameless mirror. I just love frameless mirrors. They look so classy, such a cool look, and I just think it makes the car look that much better. Now, the XLE trim in general is what I would recommend getting if you want all the features and comfort that you would get on the top of the line trims, without having a price that's going to bankrupt you and your family and send you into financial ruin. Now, the top tier Highlanders, especially the hybrids, those can touch 50 grand. That's a lot of money. But this XLE is about $40,000, and if you add destination and whatnot, it's about 41. Now, that is pretty good considering that you have heated seats, all these other features I mentioned, nice design, and all this comfort. I mean, yes, you can get stuff like a 360 surround view camera, the JBL audio, the panoramic moonroof, and all that on higher level trims, but I think this XLE does a really good job at combining all the luxury and comfort features that you're really going to want without getting a price point that, as I said, can touch up to 50 grand. And because of that, that's why the XLE is one of the best-selling models for the Highlander lineup, because it just does such a good job at combining everything so well. Now, a couple downsides of this car. Some materials are a bit on the cheap side, like the center console material here by the shifter. A little cheap, and on the tops of the door panels, I wish they could be a bit more padded than they are. But besides that, I really don't have that many complaints. Fuel economy is good, comfort's really unbelievably good, and the pricing and equipment available on this car is honestly really competitive, and I think that's why Toyota sells so many of them. And then you couple that with Toyota's unbelievably good reliability, and it creates a product that families are going to struggle to ignore, even in the competitive crossover SUV segment that we have today. And that's why I think the Highlander is going to continue to blaze the trail for all other SUVs to come, and will continue to attract buyers all over the place. Thanks again to Orsman Chantilly Toyota for lending us this Highlander today. Arlo Guthrie and David Timona over there are great guys. They've been hooking me up with these cars. We bought a car from them and it was a great experience. I'd highly recommend, if you're in the DC metro area and looking for a Toyota, that you should go ahead and check them out. Now, as I have said before, personality has always been a huge part of the driving experience of any vehicle, and the Toyota Highlander is no exception to the rule. Now, this car, honestly, it's void of personality. But then again, Toyota's not designing this car to stir your soul. They're designing it to create an efficient, practical, and relatively luxurious package for families that they're going to want to buy. And families, like the average mom or dad that drives this car, isn't going to look for a car that is stirring their soul. They're looking for something that is just an overall great package, and the Highlander ticks that box. Am I going to hop in this car and get my heart racing with excitement every time I drive it? No. But that's not the point of this car, and therefore you can't dock it because it doesn't really have that much personality. Overall, great car. Loved my experience in the Highlander. If I had a huge family and I wanted to buy a car just to haul them around on long trips, this would definitely be high on my list. And because of that, I would definitely give this car a thumbs up. Now, if you enjoyed the video and all of our content, please subscribe and feel free to browse our channel. We have a ton of cool videos up there. Awesome footage on the way as always. Feel free to tune in and watch our next video.